Brendan Donovan's walk-off home run last episode is the most electrifying moment so far in the Cardinals franchise. What a great win for us, and what an exciting moment. Now, we do have to talk about what happened the next day. We had split the first two games against the Reds and looked to take the series in the following game. Brendan Donovan would homer again, and the Cardinals would carry a 5-2 lead into the ninth inning. You assume this one's all wrapped up. But unfortunately this year, things haven't always gone that easily. Ryan Helsley blew the save. We gave up 5 runs and lost this game. For Helsley, it's his 4th blown save of the season. He's now given up 5 homers in less than 30 innings. And this is a big step back from what we're used to seeing with him. And the biggest difference is simply the homers. He gave up 6 in 51 innings a year ago and has already given up 5 in just over half those innings. The Reds took that series from us, and they have closed the gap to 2.5 games in the NL Central. Originally, that game was going to be at the end of last episode, but I didn't think that was a good way to end the episode. I didn't want to spoil the walk-off win excitement. We are now 4-2 against the Reds this year, and we'll meet them again down the road in August. But what's on the agenda today is to get us prepared for the MLB draft and the All-Star break. Nolan Arenado so far would have to be the offensive MVP of the season, leading us in home runs, having an .822 OPS, and bouncing back from last year's injury-riddled season. Before every episode, I'm looking through the team and the minor leagues to look for different things to talk about, and one player I'd like to highlight today is the AAA closer. That is Adam Kloffenstein. I had to find somebody to close games there, and given Kloffenstein is a legitimate prospect for us, I gave him this chance, and so far he's been flawless. 17 innings, no runs allowed, and 21 saves, of course, no blown saves. At 25 years old, we're hoping he makes it to the Major League roster soon. I'd give him an ETA of next season. We're starting today 5-5 over our last 10, just like the rest of this division, but we are 15-8 now against the NL Central. Let's continue on. We've got a road series against the Milwaukee Brewers. It's Corbin Burnes against his old team. Both he and Woodruff doing well going head-to-head. Brewers take that in shutout fashion. Brewers take 2 of 3 before we'll wrap up the series, but we've got to get to scouting again. And here's the progress on the latest targets. Ken Strawberry, reliever, 135 on the board. For a lot of these later picks, I'm only scouting them partially, so I can get more players at least with partial information. If they have lower potential, I'm rarely going to dedicate multiple sessions to that player. Emerson Parker now, he's fallen down the board to 74th. Looks like a solid prospect and definitely someone I'm intrigued with. There's upside with power and also like day one skill with power. What's interesting here with Parker is he comes in kind of ready to play, but very close to his ceiling. I don't know if I've ever seen potential and overall they're matched up so perfectly. But he's probably going to land in that dead zone where we don't even have a selection. I was scouting players like him in case they were to climb up the board and perhaps get into our top 30 and be in more of that first round conversation. We got some infielder information, it looks like, this week. Donald Galvin. That makes it worth it. When you can get somebody who pops as number 20 on your board, we're just going to probably have... I want to be able to scout him pretty quickly. So if I can find someone who can take care of that in a week, may have to be our best scout, or maybe even 2. If he's going to pop in at 20, though, right now, we might even dedicate 2 players, or 2 coaches. Scouts, whatever they are. Or maybe they don't let you do that. I thought they did. I'm also developing a plan for after the draft and some potential trades, but it depends if there's a position we miss out on that I want to address. Then we have options for filling in gaps in the prospect pipeline. We're going to move on here to reliever Arnold Scott. A lot higher potential range than most relievers in the 100-plus range. I'm also going to take a shot here on Discovery one final time. Wrapping up against the Brewers, they take 3 out of 4 in Milwaukee. 2 of those games were shutouts, and we scored 1 run in the other loss. We wrap up the month of June, and it looks like Ryan Helsley is going for a bounce-back save. And Baltimore's already got 1 in the 9th. I haven't done this since the A's franchise, I don't think. I used to do a lot of critical situations where we get into the game, and we watch it all unfold. Here at the end, Ryan Helsley facing Ryan Mountcastle with 2 aboard. Orioles looking to steal 1 late. Helsley's one of those guys we always expected we could count on, so the struggles here are a little concerning. And he's just not that sharp, already 15-plus pitches into his outing. 3-1. And a grounder up the middle. Come on, get 2. Not quick enough. Mountcastle just beats out the throw. Wow, he's not even given the chance to finish it. Hunter Harvey's going to come in now for the final out. Okay, then. A little surprised by that, but honestly, once he's already close to 20 pitches, you know you're not getting his best. Harvey's had his share of struggles this season. Let's see if he can get a 1-out save. Oh my, come on! No way! Colton Cowser ends it, and the Orioles win the game. Another blown lead for the St. Louis Cardinals. How do y'all let this happen? So technically, I don't think it's a blown save for Ryan Helsley. Oddly enough, he gets a hold, despite 3 earned runs, which those 3 earned runs were enough to tie the game. I think that should be a blown save. If the closer had enough earned runs to close the gap, that's a blown save in my book. It raises his ERA now to 6.5. Hunter Harvey gets charged with the blown save, giving up his 7th home run of the year. And his home run rate against is also really high. And part of the reason I brought him in is because it was usually very low. This is a bit of a bullpen-wide trend right now. Harvey, Helsley, Liberator. What's going on here? Surface numbers look good. Under the surface, way too many home runs. Zach Thompson also has a lot of home runs against. I'm really impressed with Michael Kopech overall, and I wonder if he's kind of worked himself into that setup role. Moore is there, and it's not like he's been bad or anything. His home run rate against is really good. But yeah, we've got some trouble there in the bullpen for sure. All right, we're approaching the All-Star break. We come back the next day in Baltimore, and the Orioles beat us again 2-1. A lot of low-scoring days for the offense. And surging up the NL Central standings, you've got the Pittsburgh Pirates, now 47-41. They've won series recently against the Braves, Dodgers, and Cubs to get themselves in better position. We must have coaches that focus a lot on defense because pretty much everybody is seeing +5, +6, +7 fielding. And that's really nice for hopefully future starters like Mason Wynn, but also guys who defense wasn't great like Jordan Walker. This is getting to the point now where you wonder if he'll eventually have that true outfield ability. But certainly the offense has seen better days. Let's go player lock here against the Baltimore Orioles. We're hoping to avoid a sweep at the hands of the Orioles. They have a pair of 1-run wins. And they got Cole Irvin taking the mound, and he's been very strong this season. Could be an all-star year for Nolan Arenado. He was first place in third base voting last I saw. Fly ball on the first pitch. It's out to center, but playable for a 1-2-3 first inning. Ahead to the fourth inning, a scoreless game. Victor Scott is at first base. Do we give him a chance to steal here first pitch, maybe? Not going. Strike. Now he's going, and it's in there, but Scott is safe at second. That's out to right. Scott set up to tag and will advance from second to third. He gained 2 bases in that plate appearance. But a ground out ends the inning, and still no runs for St. Louis. Only 3 hits in the game combined, and finally Heston Kjerstad gets the Orioles on the board. But where's the scoring for the Cards? We had a couple shutouts against Milwaukee, and now on the verge of a shutout concluding a sweep. Cole Irvin already 6 1/3 into this game. Softly on the ground. That's an 89-mile-per-hour fastball. You've got to hit it harder than that. A triple. Okay, we finally break through in the 8th inning. It's now a tie ball game. Gunnar Henderson trying to put the Orioles ahead. He's having a really good year, hitting .318 with 20 homers. He just laid a bunt down. Arenado barehanded, no shots. Gunnar bunting with 2 down and a runner in scoring position? I'm going to question that even if it worked. And then Gunnar got caught stealing to end the inning. That's bizarre. That's a bizarre sequence. All right, 9th inning. Hoping to salvage. Come on. Not this time. And Arenado has a hitless day. At least so far. Bottom 9. Orioles can't get it done. We do score. Top of the 10th. Nootbaar with a home run. A 3-run lead. You'd hope that would be enough. This time it is. Helsley nails the save to get us the series finale at least. 8 hits on the day for St. Louis. 3 of those belonging to Nolan Gorman, who was a home run shy of the cycle. Now, you'd really hope that we can bounce back and win a series against the White Sox. That wasn't a great road trip. We went 2-5. So now against Chicago, Game 1, offensive outpouring. Gorman, 2 home runs, building upon his success the previous day. That is a complete game shutout for Nestor Cortes. Cardinals win a 1-run game the next day against Chicago. This was a Tink Hence start, and he went 7, and they took a 9th inning comeback to win this game. Final week of scouting, and here is Donald Galvin, who does drop down the board from the 20s to 61, but definitely interested. He's a first baseman who can play some third, and he should be a pretty darn good hitter, has some defensive abilities as well. For Arnold Scott, the potential is now a little bit higher than overall, and he still looks pretty solid. We also discovered a couple outfielders. We have Andres Sanchez and Franklin Morris. Sanchez, 60th on the board, a switch-hitting outfielder, 76 to 99 potential. I think we'll spend the last session definitely scouting him further. For Franklin Morris, we may do the same. We will finish up the report on Galvin, just because the potential range is pretty high. And this is going to conclude our scouting efforts for this year. In a game against his former team, Dylan Cease gets shelled by Chicago, giving up 7 in 1.2 innings. The White Sox hit 5 home runs. Are you kidding me? And then we lose 12-1 the next day. This team is weird right now. The bullpen got destroyed late. It was 3-1 going into the 8th inning. Logan Webb has a complete game, while we have a complete meltdown with Kopech and Thompson each giving up 4 runs. There goes the nice surface numbers for Kopech. The ERA is over 5, WHIP is over 1.5. Every time I say something nice about Kopech, he gives up a ton of runs. So we're just going to keep quiet about him for a little bit. Next day, Cardinals 1-0. It feels like our offensive numbers have to be slipping. Batting average, 16. That's taken a free fall. Runs scored, tied for 8th. Home runs, we're still top 5 there. How about OPS? Do we have OPS in here? I'll just do on base and slugging individually. 15th and on base, that's lower than I think we should be. And for slugging, 14. So we're getting homers, but maybe not as many doubles and triples. And that's with the team ERA now at 8. And how many blown saves? Feels like it's been far too many. We are below average there. I know when we started today, I'm pretty sure our run differential was over 100. And that's closing pretty quickly with these lopsided losses we're enduring. Thankfully, the rest of the division isn't really doing anything all that special right now. I'm jumping in here while editing, as I didn't realize while recording a bit of this that I had muted myself and forgot to unmute. So I have to fill in the gaps here. We did close out the games leading up to the draft pretty well, but then it was time for the 2026 first-year player draft. I had 2 players primarily on my mind with the number 21 pick. Rolando Calderon had jumped up to number 1 on our board, so obviously he'd be the top option with 87 to 97 potential. And then there was third baseman Leslie Fisher. I discovered him very early in the process, and he was always one of my top choices. We had many others who could also be in line for that first round pick, but those 2 really stood out. Let's see how the draft unfolded here early. And number 1, the Chicago White Sox, who had the worst record a year ago, select James Capiello, the 6th ranked player on the MLB board. He's a starting pitcher. And number 2, the Washington Nationals. They select David Velasquez, first baseman, who was 79th on the MLB board. And at 3rd, we have the New York Mets going Keith Corona, a center fielder who was 37th. It's been tough to project the early picks. I thought for sure we'd see Albert Yokoyama go in the top 3, but then he ends up going at 7 instead to the Athletics. One player I didn't get around to scouting that I had wanted to is who the Reds took, Jose Chavez, the closer. Usually you don't want to take relievers this early, but I thought he looked exceptional, but didn't make sense for 21st overall, so we didn't end up scouting him. And then at number 12, the LA Angels go third baseman Leslie Fisher, 46 on the MLB board. And just 1 pick later, Rolando Calderon was taken by the Blue Jays. There go my top options. 8 picks before we have a chance. Suddenly I had to figure out who the number 3 guy was going to be. Jesus Fernandez was the highest ranked on our board. And then we had a lot of pitchers that I had scouted. But who was going to be the right choice for us at 21? Fred Dodson went at 16. I know many of you thought he would be generational, but another player we wouldn't have a chance to take. Nobody else from the board was taken before we had a chance to pick at 21. But this to me was basically worst case scenario. Not having a chance to pick from Calderon or Fisher or even Dodson meant we'd have to consider Jesus Fernandez. I know he was 8th on our board, but I really disagreed with the power and the defensive skill not really showing up. If he had a high potential range, that's fine, but you have to also think about how a player is going to reach that potential and what their role ends up being. We had some pitchers as well, but many of them, like Rolando Benitez, had some holes in their game. Whether they're walk prone or home run prone, that's something you have to work on. We were looking at a lot of prospects who would have some flaws in their game. And I spent a lot of time trying to find somebody I'd be excited to take. And the one player that really caught my attention was Donald Galvin, who was a late addition to the board, but he wasn't ranked anywhere near the top 20. In this race against the clock, I was having to consider players I previously never considered taking in the first round. And when it all came down to it, having to make a decision, with time running out, I selected Donald Galvin. I know his potential range was not as favorable as some others, but he showed a very complete offensive skill set, good defensive ability as well, and I believe there was a high ceiling here, even if his potential range and ranking was lower than others. I view Galvin as a third base prospect, not a first base. It is a risky pick, and we'll see if this ends up working out for us. The number one ranked player, Rodney Hancock, ended up going at 35. He is a closer, and the relievers tend to go a bit later in this game. It's good to know that some of those players are available later on in the first, because there are situations where I'd be willing to take one. But at this point, I realized I was muted and fixed it. So let's get back to the live commentary. So now one of the unknowns is when players like Jesus Fernandez will actually go. If he's not ranked on the MLB board, 8th ranked on ours, like your guess is as good as mine. If he's there for our next pick, then I might just chase the potential. But in the first round, I want potential plus a realistic path and a good idea this guy is going to be a really good player. Emerson Parker just went to the Dodgers. He's someone I did like a lot. Speed and power combination. This was our chance to draft a Luis Estrella-like prospect, for those of you that watch my A's franchise. And we're finally closing in on our second pick of the day. And since our selection, very few players have actually been taken off the board. But now we're going to pick as Lewis Young is taken, and we're at 98. So now Jesus Fernandez is there, and he's meant to have a very good potential range. I still question if he's going to be that good of a prospect. Here, I'm going to go with Rolando Benitez. He has the better potential range. Although I have questions about both prospects, I'm going to go with Benitez in this case. Chad Prince was just taken off my board. Not sure he would have really been a target here with the potential range not looking all that great. But that's one less option. Still seeing Fernandez and a lot of my late additions to the board. I think here I'm going to be thinking about going catcher with one of these selections. Ken Strawberry is taken. I would have liked to get a reliever in this class, but Strawberry goes here in the 120s. And one last pick before we're on the clock a third time. The Chicago Cubs will go Julius Pearson. Do we take Fernandez now and just hope he develops beyond what we're expecting? I'm okay taking that chance here. We'll see if he's worth the 128th selection. But David Diaz went the very next pick, who was the top catcher on my board. I only have two catchers, but he was my favorite of the two. All right, I know what I want with our next pick. Let's see if we can have Brian Kovalenko make it to 158. It'll be close. But there's a run on catchers going right now. If I could, I'd like to trade up. Wow, how about this? The San Francisco Giants just drafted Will Mays. No way. That is incredible. Darren Delian just went. He was a left-handed pitcher I liked. But we're closing in. And we just gotta hold on for one more selection. The Cubs select Gustavo Guerrero, and we can now finally address the catcher position. I'm looking for the future, what's beyond. After Wilson Contreras regresses, his contract isn't due for a few years, but we need to develop somebody, and I'm hoping that ends up being Brian Kovalenko. And with our final selection, we're left with 3 players still on our board. And I would like to select outfielder Andres Sanchez, a switch hitter who can also play some first base. He's our last pick. So there we go. We'll see how this draft ends up being. It was a little bit more uncomfortable than many of my other drafts, with my favorite options going well before we had a chance to pick in the first. And a lot of the players we ended up selecting we only knew of thanks to Discovery. But Donald Galvin was the first round pick. And we're very close to hitting the All-Star break now, and Nolan is the leading vote getter at third base. Chester Montano in center was the Rookie of the Year a season ago. We wrap up the first half of the season. Brendan Donovan hits a home run. We beat the Nationals and close, winning 5 of our last 6 to go 56-42. Last year at the break, we were 59-39, so very similar years. 5 games up in the division right now. Nolan Gorman, 22 home runs. That leads the team. Arenado has 18 and has yet to homer in this episode. He's still maintaining good numbers, though, on the season. And right as we get ready for the All-Star break, the A's want to offer us a trade. Zach Jackson for Thomas Morse. No thank you. That's the second team now that's offered for first baseman Thomas Morse. As far as C potential prospects go, Thomas Morse is one of the better ones, especially for us. We want to hold on to him. We have nobody in the home run derby, despite Nolan Gorman tying Kyle Schwarber in home runs. We didn't have a single pitcher make it. Not even Dylan Cease. And the only All-Star for this year is Nolan Arenado. So we'll skip past it. I want to play the game, or at least with our players at some point, but we need some more All-Stars. So let's just take a look at everything before we get into the second half of the season. Very happy with the starting rotation, especially with Tink Hen stepping into a brand new role and doing a really strong job in the first half. I'm really hoping our bullpen gets better in the second half. I would rather not make another trade, but we'll see if it ends up being kind of forced if we blow a bunch more leads here leading up to the deadline. Brendan Donovan and Lars Nootbaar are both playing very well. Jordan Walker had a very up and down first half. He's kind of bounced between the lower 200s, got up to 280 with his average, but I'm still pretty happy overall. Hope he's in for a big season still. And then Nolan's been great. Wilson Contreras, still very steady at 33 years old. It's pretty important for us to have our older players still producing like this. Nolan Gorman, 86 overall. We've talked about him, and this being a very good year for him so far, should shatter his career high in home runs. Tommy Edman, he's been up and down. I think that we're going to see if we can start transitioning into Mason Wynn as the everyday shortstop. I think we should get him more starts in the first half. He got into the action 47 times, so around half the games, 146 at-bats. If he gets at least 300 by the end of the year, I think that's enough to start making a decision about his future. Lane Thomas has been pretty disappointing. He's hit lefties really well, but righties have given him a lot of issues. So he's had middling offensive numbers. And then Victor Scott, I'm happy with his development, very happy with his first half numbers. I think if the bullpen needs something, we're going to try to solve that from within. Maybe one of these guys like Tekoa Roby could come up and give us a boost rather than us giving up more prospects to get a second reliever this season. Benny Matsumoto's up to a 69 overall, and once you get to the 70s, you start thinking about how close a guy is to the bigs, and Benny's getting closer, but has a lot of stuff I want to work on. Depending on how the bench performs, you could see Joe Adell or Will Brennan make it up to the bigs in the second half. I think Thomas Sujazi would have an opportunity as well. That might only happen, though, if there is an injury. And down at Double A, two players getting a lot of good development are Daryl Marino and Steve Padilla, picks from last season. Marino missed about 2 months, so he's only gotten 150 at-bats so far. We'll look to see if he has a big second half at Double A. And then Steve Padilla, he's the Double A MVP as far as position players are concerned. I was training his arm at first, and now I'm training his fielding and reaction. I don't think his offense needs the help. He's already destroying pitching down there, slugging .571 with 16 home runs. Padilla is on the fast track. I think I've changed my mind on something, actually. With our bench struggling, I'm going to make a move right away here. Getting sent down for the first time by us will be Joey Loperfido. And we're going to bring up someone else who can back up at infield spots. That is Thomas Ujezi, who's been starring down at AAA. Maybe starring is a bit of a stretch, but he's played well. We're also going to be sending Chris Rotondo back to AAA. And we're going to bring up righty Joe Adell, who I think is ready to rejoin us and see how far he's come in the last couple of years. I wanted to bring up another righty because two of our starting outfielders are lefties, and I'd like to have someone that could potentially give us a boost against lefties who we've kind of struggled against this season. So let's get underway now in the second half of the season. A 7-6 New York lead here late. Let's see if we can pull off a little comeback here against the Mets. We got Victor Scott leading off against Sean Reed Foley. Hey, we're finally playing somewhere besides St. Louis. We know how key it would be to get Scott aboard. Ball 2. I should have been able to lay off that one. 2-2. And called strike 3. Really ruined that at-bat with the chase. So let's go to Jordan Walker. We need 1. Fouled back a slider. And now 3-1. I like the scoreboard there in center. It's gigantic. I like seeing all that information from the hitting view. By him. And now full. A drive into the air. Deep left field. That is back and caught. Jordan Walker just misses a game-tying homer. I can't believe it either. So now it's on Nolan, the lone all-star. And we're not biting on these first 2 pitches. 3-0. Adell would pinch run if Arenado gets on. And he walks on 4. So there's Joe Adell, who gives us more speed on our bench as well. Now Wilson Contreras, game on the line. Strike 1. On the ground and foul. And got us chasing there. Another bad swing and a strikeout to finish the game. Mets take the first of the second half. 3 for 4 day for Mason Wynn. He'll be one of those players we really try to highlight here in the second half. And let's see if we can get some picks signed. Donald Galvin is under contract. So is Benitez. We're declined by Jesus Fernandez. We signed Kovalenko. So we've got 2 more players to get re-signed. The first series post All-Star break goes to the Mets. And now we've got Fernandez signed and Andres Sanchez is the final player. And he's still holding out. Corbin Burns trying to go the distance and does. A 3-0 win for the Cards. Hoping to have a strong road trip getting this second half underway. And now we got the whole class under contract. Perfect. So now the attention shifts to, do we do anything else before the deadline? The Marlins, will they offer us for Thomas Morse? Wow. Ryan Helsley is who they're targeting for Paul Sewald and Chester Montano. You're going to give up on D potential. Was it somebody else's potential I edited? He was Rookie of the Year. But no, I'm not making that trade. I will edit his potential, however. And with these players that go like win Rookie of the Year with D potential, I'm usually going to give them like a mid-80s. And he's playing really well. So let's give the Marlins that win. I like to go down to AA here in this episode. When we have a draft, I like to also combine those episodes with a little bit of a prospect showcase. Let's go see Steve Padilla down at the AA level, who's been one of the top performers in the organization this season. With our outfield right now, we're playing, of course, Lars Nootbaar, Victor Scott, and Lane Thomas. There's questions about Thomas and how good he'll be for the long haul, along with Victor Scott, but I feel pretty good about his role. But could Padilla be one of those players that pushes Lane Thomas within the next couple of years? Because his hitting is already advanced. It's the defense that's going to keep him from really pushing for that role because Thomas has good range and good defensive skill. Padilla also has the benefit of being first base flexible. So if we ended up moving Jordan Walker to the outfield again, that would open the door for a guy like Padilla, but also Daryl Marino. And I think I'd rather project Marino to have that role. But I'm not sure outside of Nolan Gorman there's anyone that projects to be a perfect DH fit. On the ground, and Padilla is retired. Padilla has 72 speed, hits really well from the left-handed side. I think he's got really nice upside for us. Fouled back a good fastball. That was the best pitch we've seen so far. I think Padilla's ceiling is pretty high. I could see him becoming like a Lars Nootbaar caliber player. That is out to left field. Didn't hit it quite well enough. Padilla already has very good plate vision. Sometimes that's one of those skills that needs a lot of time to develop. But his offense, let's just go through the ratings one more time. He's really impressive. Discipline's already a 58 as well. It's easy to see Padilla being a high average and fairly high on-base guy with 20-plus home run upside. And we got to work on the defense. So hopefully that can develop quickly as it is for a lot of our other players. I'm not sure if it would develop faster. Not that I'm trying to bring him up to the big league bench like this year or maybe even next. But I wonder if it would develop faster if he was on that big league roster. We're seeing really good defensive development already. We're still facing the lefty Castillo here in the 5th inning in a 4-2 ball game. That sounded good. That was 110 off the bat. And now we got a full count. We'll see if Castillo gives us something here. Marino's at first. Thomas Morse is on deck. Weekly to the right side. Good reach. Padilla is on with a fielder's choice. 72 speed. Might be a guy that can steal some bases. 58 steal isn't terrible. And in there, a stolen base. How many does that give him? 9 on the season. And now Thomas Morse, the switch-hitting first baseman, trying to bring him home. Inside out, it will hold him at second. And now Church will ground it off of third and reach Samil De La Rosa, the third baseman. 0-2 with runners at the corners and strike 3. And they bring in a lefty just to face Padilla now in the 6th with the bases loaded. That's going to turn foul, and wow. Anticlimactic at bat there. So let's give it another go here in the 8th inning. New pitcher, and it's a righty this time. First one we faced. Padilla, the tying run. Wanted to tie it right there. That was 105 off the bat. So he clearly can hit it hard. It's a 2-2 count for Steve Padilla. And now a full count with the runners leaving early. Right side, and that is a good play by the second baseman. All the fouls are getting ripped. Everything in play is hit softly. Unfortunately, no more chances to hit in this game. So let's go into the next one then. We've got Daryl Marino, and if he can get on, we'll see some more at-bats with Padilla. But Marino is the guy I've been most excited about with his ceiling and him being the first-round pick a year ago. Hoping he can stay healthy and hit some homers here in the second half. Runner on, and a strike on the cutter. Marino already a 72 overall. So he's not meant to take a long time before reaching the bigs. Wow. I'm sorry, he's a 75 overall right now. At 18 years old. These are two of our best position player prospects now, and I think they're good enough to help us in the near future, but it's all about finding them a spot that makes sense. Strike 3 on Marino. And then when you're in our position as well, and you're looking at possible holes on the roster, you have to balance trying to stay kind of a win-now organization and spending in free agency versus giving some of these guys chances when they're showing so much upside. And if you hit, that ends up saving you money you can spend on other issues with the team. Marino hitting in the 7th. 3-1 for scoreless Springfield. Foul and now a full count. Grounded. Come on, guys. We got to hit something hard and play where they ain't. Over the mound and chopped to short. Marino not able to beat that one out. It was close. Padilla singled home a run at least. And that's the ball game. So again, no hits in this one. This is the tough thing sometimes about doing the showcases is there's no guarantee we'll actually get like a couple hits with the guy and be able to really show what they can do if we only do like one game. I'd like some feedback on this episode. I know it's going to be a little bit less gameplay focused and more just like team draft and simulation focused. All right, this time around, we're going to stay at AA today. That's where these great prospects are. And we're going to pitch with Benny Matsumoto, #1 prospect in the organization. Benny's had a very good year with a 3.69 ERA. He has a 1.38 whip, 83 strikeouts, and 112 innings. That's one of those things I want to work on before he makes it to the majors, along with his walk per 9. Much of his overall right now is being weighed by that 80 home run per 9. He's only given up a home run every 20-plus innings this year, 5 in 112 innings pitched. That's going to be important at the bigs, but so is missing bats and limiting walks. It's hard to say how the rotation's going to change. Wow, Jack Kearns, #3 prospect here. This is a big at-bat. Benny Matsumoto in there with the 2-seamer. But it's hard to say how the openings in the rotation are going to unfold. Because we look at Dylan Cease as being hopefully a mainstay for a while. And then we have Corbin Burns also on a long-term contract. Nestor Cortez has a little bit shorter as Matsumoto strikes out Kearns. So I wanted to kind of set up our rotation to where there might be a chance to replace one guy a year. So Lesko would probably be the next one I'm excited to see. And that could be, what happens when Sonny Gray's contract is up at the end of the year. It looks like Tink Hence is in the rotation to stay. So it seems the next two guys to replace would be Gray and Cortez. And Cortez isn't playing like a replaceable pitcher right now. Got him! Tied up on the changeup. I think one thing I have to be a little bit more open to is the idea of trading some of our pitchers when there's just more than can possibly fill the rotation. I've been pretty patient so far because I don't know what the biggest gap is going to be. When a guy's game falls off or a prospect doesn't pan out at like shortstop, if Mason Wynn doesn't work, then that's going to be one of those spots where if we have a good pitcher like a Tekoa Roby and we want to trade, then we can fill the hole there. But not much of a reason to rush it right now, I don't think. Fly ball, well hit to right field. And that is nearly out of here. Thankfully, that's like a 15, 20-foot fence. So we'll see if Benny can pitch around the leadoff double. Facing the bottom of the Rockhounds order. There's a better two-seamer as he gets ahead. Change-up was left up and hammered to right. This one is caught right in front of the fence. It goes from like a 3-foot fence to a 20-foot fence. That's kind of drastic out there. A strikeout here would be pretty big. 0-2 on Perez. Come on, ump. Double-A players, double-A umpiring. 3-2. That is into right center. And in for a single. And now the changeup is hammered to center, but run down. That's 3 in the inning now that have been hit with 95 or better exit velo. And just sneaking its way through, another hit. A rough second going here for Matsumoto. And here's number 1 prospect for the A's, Jack Kearns. Hitting .258 with 4 homers. Hammered to left now, hooking at the pole, and it's off the glove. And it will score a pair. Kearns into second. Matsumoto gives up his second and third runs. So not the greatest showcase for anyone I'm trying to highlight right now. That was almost a fantastic catch. It was just off the tip of the glove. So how does Benny bounce back from that? 3rd inning now. And the fastball is there at 93. He'll top out around 95 miles an hour. So my focus so far has been to just try to pitch more on the corners and see how good his command can be. And it hasn't been great. That wasn't actually a bad pitch. We're just not getting any batted ball luck here early on. And got him at second base. At least we can get outs that way. That's Aaron McKeithen, the catcher, who also recorded the final out of the 2nd inning. So he's gotten the last 2 on his own. And Matsumoto now walks a batter on 5 pitches. So it's not going to be one of his strongest starts this season. In the air again to left field, staying busy out there. It's caught. For me, I'm thinking Matsumoto is potentially a guy that would get called up in year 5. But that also depends if, like, the K rate comes up enough, the walks. Over the mound into center field. 94 off the bat. That was a slider not even in the zone. Like, it's just not Benny's day at all. Second walk of the inning, and they are full. Now the fastball's at 92, and we got action now in the bullpen. Better change. Yeah, the close stuff isn't really getting calls either. Adding insult to injury, basically. Good slider. But not chasing, it's full. Another walk for Benny Matsumoto, and he's given up 4 runs. That's one of the only chases we've gotten so far. 1 and 2. Benny gets the strikeout at last. Hey, we're getting some swinging strikes now. And strike 3 on Naylor. I feel like his last 10 pitches have been his best 10. And Kearns chops it to short. Settling in after 60-plus pitches, 3 walks, and 4 runs allowed. Just how he drew it up. But then can't find a strike and walks his 4th batter of the day. I guess this session has been a wake-up call and just like a little bit of reality. Like, yeah, we've got to be patient with these guys. I was hoping to see some more highlights, though. Fly ball left center. Can anybody get it? Oh, wow, it's way up there. I'm not sure umbrellas are meant to stop baseballs. And it's a home run given up by Matsumoto. That might be it for Benny, though. That was probably the worst game that I've featured with him so far. I think he's fine. They hit the ball so hard. This is just insulting. 4 innings, 6 runs allowed. Rough day for Benny. Let's go take a look at the top prospect list. Haven't seen that in a little while. Richie Courtney is number 1 in the Angels organization. I really wish that they would show the best prospects who are actually close to the show. I don't feel like the top 100 here is all that useful in a lot of cases when they have 18-year-olds just drafted with high potential, but that's just potential. So that was a brief look at some guys in our top 6. There's also Augustine Garcia down at single A. Remember, I took him. I knew he'd be a guy who would have to develop for years. So far at single A, this is what's happened. And I'll probably have him at single A for a couple years until I think he can be productive at double A. There's one more guy I want to talk about, I think, today. With Nolan Arenado playing well, this isn't an immediate need, but we were hoping that Aurelvis Martinez would be the third baseman of the future. He's not been a tremendous AAA hitter. He's been fine. But I'm having my doubts whether Martinez can be an above-average starter or what kind of a starter he's even going to be. Next year, he will wind up on the bench as he's out of options. We can no longer send him down after this season. So he's going to have to do the rest from there, the way Mason Wynn is right now. Top of the first, and the bases are loaded. Martinez has 10 homers on the season. Got to get a run on the board at least. Ahead of the slider. That's fouled. Man, just late. We couldn't even put that in right field. Wow, 8-0. So let's do it again here in the second with 2 aboard. That's down the line. Finally something. Didn't even hit it that hard. It's going to be a single for Aurelvis Martinez. That drives home run number 9. Loperfido's kind of mashing down here. I was just looking at guys with cold streaks and wanting to give somebody else a shot. Want to shake up the bench when not much is happening there. A walk for Joey. Can he beat that out? No. We'll have to settle for just 10 in 2 innings. Third at bat by the third inning. Haven't had too many games like this. Oh, we were early, but how early? Yeah, I've been ahead of those sliders. Not putting them in play, obviously. This one is cracked to left field, but caught. Meanwhile, Dylan Lesko is pitching into the 7th. Another great game for him. And we're going to go 2 with this one and double play. Well, we only scored in the first 2 innings and still won by 8. So, nice day there for Memphis. And now we're going to bring it back to the bigs to close out today's episode. And we've got a 1-run deficit against the Red Sox. Everybody's going to advance. Lane Thomas with 2 in scoring position. Strike 3 on the cutter. And now Victor Scott with 1 gone. Foul. Right side, it will score the tying run. And now Brendan Donovan with 2 gone. Up the middle. Diving stop to his feet. And the game stays tied. Jordan Walker hits a 2-run homer in the 7th. And we're looking to see if we can hold a slim lead late against Boston. We're going to see if Burns can go one more batter while we get the bullpen ready. And we've got a full count. It'll be the last batter that Burns faces. Into center, a base hit. And here comes Matt Moore to replace Burns in a 1-run game. We've been talking about the bullpen and trying to hold on to these late leads. We also need a plan for the trade deadline coming up. And we'll see if bullpen's looking like something that needs to be addressed. Rafael Devers. Left center field. This is trouble. Scott will play it. To third, Rafaela. Waved home. And down at the plate. Incredible work getting that one home. Maybe the difference there was Scott's speed getting to the spot. And on top of that, making a perfect throw to the cut. That's an impressive throw. Still a 1-run game. Tristan Casas is next. He and Devers are why I went with the lefty more. That'll hold Rafi as Wynn makes the throw. See that velocity on that, though? I love his arm. And now Marcelo Meyer. Contreras recovering. That's going to be out number 3. We'll take that. And in the meantime, we'll see if we can get any more runs. Thomas hitting lefties well this year. That changed pretty quickly, didn't it? That could fall in right. Donovan finds the way. And now we got Lars, 3 for 4. Facing the lefty Ferguson. That's blocked. Count on Lars, 3-1. And now full. 3.5 up on Pittsburgh right now. The standings haven't moved a lot this episode. Center field and under it. And the Sox still trail by 1. Only 8 pitches in that 7th for Moore. So we're going to keep him out there to start the inning. We have Helsley getting ready. Kopech getting ready. Arenado in the perfect spot. Good change up from Moore as he faces Sheets. A lot of lefties. And Donovan has a routine play. But it's Kopech who will look to get us just one more out in the 8th. Tyler O'Neill, the former Cardinal. Bounced it. Donovan gets to the spot. Leaping throw. And a 1-2-3-8. Nolan under this one. It'll be safely caught in center as we're top of the 9th. Yeah, just not able to find the sweet spot today. Early or late on everything. And we'll go bottom 9. Ryan Helsley time, everybody. He saved 26 games in 30 tries with a high average against facing lefties. Fair amount of home runs given up. Seems he either nails down the save or a home run blows it. What's the story going to be to end this episode? 8, 9, and 1 hitters for the Red Sox. Vaughn Grissom, first pitch swinging, fouls it back. Weekly chop towards Wynn, and the rookie sets and fires for out number 1. Here's Kyle Teal. 0 for 2. And Helsley is behind with Yoshida on deck. And 89 on the slider. I want to see him break out that 103 right here. Outside at 102. Tying runs on, and here is Masataka Yoshida. Lifted to right, Nootbaar right at the foul pole. Caught it. Wow, that was close. Helsley nearly blew another save. But we're not done. And we want to end this before Devers has a shot. Missed inside, apparently. All right, I guess that inside edge is non-existent. And that's low. A lot of rocky outings this year for Helsley. He walks him, and here comes Devers. Behind Devers is Casas, and I will take my chances with Casas. Even if it loads the bases. A chance to walk it off. All it would take is a single. Helsley's already thrown 16 pitches. 100 and a strike. And 102. And now how do we try to end this? He doesn't go. Thought about it. A drive to center. Scott is over. Ball game. A save for Helsley, but things get a little too close for comfort. Yoshida was inches away from a home run, and the Red Sox ended up loading the bases. But it's a save. But with that being said, is there anything you think we should address before the trade deadline? We are 60-47, 4 games up in the division. Let me know down below your thoughts on today's episode and what should be next for the St. Louis Cardinals. Thank you for watching today's video. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all next time as we see the ratings for our rookies and go through the trade deadline. Have a great day.